Hi there, I've been toying around with a new deck idea and I'm pleased to share it with you today. This is a deck that is based on E3 feedback implants and it's all packaged in a resource heavy Iain Stirling deck. So without further ado, I present to you this deck. I'm playing up against HP Engineering in the future, uh, which is pretty good for me because HB isn't as fast as NBN is and cannot flatline me like Wayland can. So um, playing out my Triumph contract on my first turn, I feel very safe. So what my deck does is basically to get to a nice economic advantage, leveraging on the Corp Sphere to score agendas, because if they do score agendas, they will activate uh, my ID ability. For me, trashing HB's economic resource is very important, so I need to get down to doing that. You cannot let him get out of control, otherwise he'll start raising all those Heimdalls and Ichis, and I'll have no way to get through them. So back to my deck. I only have two breakers in my deck, and they both leverage on synergy with E3 feedback implants, which is Grappling Hook and Overmind. With E3 feedback implants, you'll only need to use one power token on Overmind for every ice that you encounter. And for Grappling Hook, it solves the weakness of Overmind, which is costing too many credits for high strength ice. The problem with Grappling Hook is that it only works with ice that has at least two subroutines. But generally, high strength ice have lots of subroutines, so usually this should be fine. This is just a trial run of my deck to see whether it really works. The problem with playing this in Criminal is that there's no form of recursion, so once I exhaust all my breakers, it's game over for me. But this shouldn't happen because I have 3 copies of HQ interface and R&D interface, so I should be able to score the 7 agenda points I need before the game ends. So here my major question is, do I have enough card draw? Do I have enough money to support the use of all my tools? Installing lots of interfaces and the breakers and using the breakers costs a lot of money. And the corp is gaining a lot of money because I'm not placing treasure on the corp. It's not a gate deck which can account siphon. It's not a shaper deck that can threaten remotes with test run. I actually have to concede agendas early on, which should be working in my favor, but against HB, he now has 21 credits. It's not looking good. I'm at a point where there's no point in denying his credits anymore, so instead I'll just work towards my own goal to further my own position in the game by gaining more credits and starting to install my breakers. I get both KT Jones and Triumph contract out, so now I can spend 2 clicks per turn, gaining lots of money. He starts building up his scoring remote, and that is definitely an agenda. It's not something I'm going to contest, but this is very worrying because now he's at a point where he can just score agendas from hand repeatedly until he wins the game. So now I'm looking to bring to his hand. He hasn't used Jackson yet, so I know he has a lot in his hand. A lot of agendas clumped up in his hand. If I can get through to his hand, he's going to suffer big time. And I think he should know this as well. So instead of scoring the agenda in there, he protects HQ. A very wise choice. This is another problem with playing HQ interface. You're telegraphing your moves. And I can't choose to keep it in my hand because it's taking up space that I need to hold my overminds and grappling hooks. Actually, I should be installing my first overmind at this point in time, but yeah, I choose not to. Not giving away my breaker suite just yet. Alright, so I'm still looking to get into HQ because I know he has a lot of agendas piled up in there. He has been drawing a couple of cards, but hasn't scored anything other than that single agenda in his remote. With regards to archive sieging, I have a single copy of Sneak Door Beta in my deck, so that can be a nasty surprise against an unprepared corp. Sneak Door Beta is always a good surprise, and most people don't expect Iain to be running aggressively, but now is the time to run. I need to get agendas before things go out of hand. Because at this point, if that is a 3-pointer like priority requisition, he can score it the next turn and start scoring another agenda after that, giving me only 2 or 3 turns to enjoy my benefits before I completely lose the game. So now's my time. I get into HQ, using Overmind for both the cheap pieces of ice. Quite surprised that they are both such flimsy pieces of ice. Roto Turret is free for me to break whilst that they cost 3. And I find 4 points of agendas. Yep, I was completely right. His agendas were all clumped up. And that was a huge breakthrough for me. Now, of course, I'm worried that because of the way he was playing, by hogging so many credits, and he hasn't shown any of his influence yet, I was thinking he might have a seesaw or some sort of means to leverage on his economic power, like punitive counter-strike as well. That would kill me. Thankfully not. There's a very huge risk I'm taking while playing Plymouth contract, and thankfully it doesn't bite me this time because he's HB. He doesn't have any tricks of that sort. So he starts scoring another agenda after instantly scoring his Project Wotan. Wotan telegraphs Big Ice, so I should be expecting a Heimdall, Ichi, anything of that like, lying around unrest. But nope, instead that's just a simple wall of static which I easily break through. There's no point in contesting the remote because I'm very sure there's an Ash in there. I cannot afford to contest the Ash with his current economy. So now I'm down to blocking his R&D and sieging his HQ. Seeing that he doesn't have any tools to kill me, I'm safe with leaving just 1 card in hand, but now he's scoring the efficiency committee, so we are both on match point. I'm in a bit more dangerous situation because I need a 3-pointer to win. A 2-pointer won't cut it. He's essentially 2 turns away from victory, or 1 turn if he has a shipment from Sen. So I'm very worried at this point. I need to siege HQ. I know he's not going to draw anything useful from R&D, so HQ is the way to go. Breaking through, and I hope to snipe an agenda. And the game is cut short because I just accessed a snare. Boom. Ouch. Yep. So that ends the game for me. What can I say? That was really unfortunate, but so yeah. And I remarked to him, that's where your influence went. Well, wise choice. You got me there. I wouldn't say that wasn't unexpected, but yeah, I was prepared to get flatline. It just came in a way that I wasn't expecting. I knew the flatline was coming, but I was expecting it from seesaw or punitive, not a snare. Anyway, yes, my deck needs a lot more work. I think it takes too much early resources to get going. Having to install Dyson RAM chips for 3 credits, all the interfaces for 4 credits each, and my resources, KT and Triumph, do cost 2 each, and Overmind costs 4, Grappling Hook costs 2. These costs add up to so much money over time, and they aren't nearly as efficient as I would like in terms of breaking. So that's a pity. I mean, I picked the right ID. Iain Stirling allows me to drag the game on. You know, instead of, I mean, it gives me an advantage for dragging the game on, or at least for forcing the corp to not start scoring agendas so quickly. But at the end of the day, I think it's not really ideal. I have a couple of Insight Mans in there to reduce the cost of installing so many hardware. Once again, this deck runs a lot of hardware, just like my Exile Overmind deck, but drawing it is a problem. Insight Man, I believe, is a connection, so that's pretty good. And it goes well with calling in favors, which I didn't see any of in this game. So yeah, that's basically my deck in a nutshell. Definitely needs a lot more work, and I feel myself very constrained on influence. Hopefully I can make better work of this deck. If you have any suggestions, feel free to drop them. Thanks for watching, see you around.